There are a few things you learn when you're on crucifixion detail. Always bring extra nails. Carry a pouch of sweet-smelling spices around your neck to block the smells of the dying. Tune out the cries and the begging of the men on the cross and the family and friends at the foot of it. And never, ever look them in the eyes. Those were the unspoken rules of our work, and up until today, it has been working for me. I do not revel in my job, but neither do I despise it. It is simply work that I am told to do, work that puts food on my family's table and clothes on their back. So it was no surprise when I was once again told to prepare for an execution of 3 men, and I set to my task with practiced hands that had done this 100 times before. Except this day turned out to be different. Oh, it started out familiar enough. The men stumbling as they climbed the hill of Golgotha, the women wailing, begging us for mercy. But there was none to be had. Rome had issued the sentence, and it would be carried out. That was how things worked. When we got to the top of the hill, my comrades and I laid the men down on their crosses and nailed them to it. I had long ago learned to compartmentalize, to allow the screams as iron met flesh to wash over me, but not settle into my spirit. That was a mistake I had made at my first crucifixion, and it took me many months to have them fade from my memory. So we carried out our duty and lifted up the crosses. And then we waited. Waiting for someone to die of crucifixion is a long and boring process. Mostly, you spend your time shooting dice with your fellow soldiers and trying to keep away the family and friends who keep trying to sneak to the foot of the cross. Sometimes, if you're feeling generous, or is it cruel, you will offer the condemned a sponge of bitter wine to wet their lips. But that's about it. As I said, it's a job, and I do it well. But today was a bit different. One of the men to be crucified had a bigger following than we would expect to see. Some were crying over his sentence, and some were scoffing and taunting him to save himself from the nails and wood, as if anyone could. Once you were on the cross, there was no coming down, not even after death. Most times we just left the bodies up there to feed the birds until the cross was needed again. There is no way this Jesus guy was going to get out of this sentence, even if he was some kind of king, as the sign above him said. There is no king but Caesar, and this is Caesar's will. But then one of the other condemned men took up the taunts of the crowd below them. I have heard much from the men we crucified over the years, shouts and pleas, curses and promises to whatever God they believe in, that they would turn their life around if only they could be released from this agony. But they rarely wasted breath talking to the others hanging with them. So it was unusual for this man. I call him that because I do not know his name or the names of so many others I have crucified, to be talking to this Jesus fellow. Perhaps in his final hours he felt the need to puff himself up, to find some sense of control in the midst of a situation that was so far outside his control. Or perhaps if he was not hanging here, he would have been one of the crowd on the ground, taunting this man from afar. I do not know. But it struck me that even in the midst of his own pain, he took the time to try to cause more pain to another. And I can understand that. If I were in his place, I would be very afraid. And fear breeds anger. And anger makes people cruel because cruelty to others makes you feel less helpless. This was a man as different from me as night is from day, and yet I understand him as if we were brothers. And then there was the man on the other side of Jesus. I know not his name either, but when the first man spoke, the second rebuked him. As I said, I've heard pretty much everything standing on Golgotha. Men who claim their innocence with their last breath, shouting and crying and whispering that it was not them but someone else. Cursing the Roman state, cursing their sentence, and cursing me, their executioner. But this man admitted it all. We deserve to be here, he said, but this man does not. And then the weirdest request. Jesus, remember me when you come into your kingdom. I know we had put the sign above his head as a joke, but this man really seemed to think that Jesus had a kingdom. Huh. Another man, naked on a cross with just as many nails through his hands and feet as you, and you think he's going to remember you? He's about to die too. There will be no remembering, no kingdom, no saving. What was going on with people today? But as I stood there, I realized that like the first man, I could understand the second as well. In the face of death, we all long for assurance, long for legacy, long for understanding and forgiveness. Though I think he was searching for those things in the wrong place, I can understand his searching. And then the man in the middle, hanging between the anger and contempt of one and the longing to be remembered, perhaps forgiven of the other. I looked into his eyes and was startled to find, I don't know, compassion, forgiveness. I don't have the words for it. As the jeers still rang out to save himself, he almost looked as if we were the ones who needed saving. And he responded to the man's request with simply, truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. Not, you should have made better choices and then you wouldn't have ended up on a cross. Not, you get what you deserve. He didn't even ask what the man had done, but with both gentleness and strength in his voice, he promised, truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise. I don't know who he thinks he is to be able to make this kind of assurance and promise to the man who admitted his crimes that he would enter into paradise. But for some reason, I believe him. And so tonight, as I lay trying to go to sleep, I realize I broke one of the biggest rules of crucifixion detail. Never, ever look into their faces. And it haunts me. I see the faces of anger and contempt, ready to strike out first so that nothing that we do can hurt as much. I see the face of longing, hoping and praying that there is more. And I see the face of peace and forgiveness, even in the face of death. I can no longer see only the wood and nails and forget the reality of the men between them. Today my eyes were opened to the suffering of the world, and I can no longer turn away. But tomorrow there will be another execution, and I don't know what I'm supposed to do with that. I'm not sure that I believe in the God of this Jesus, or if I could ever enter the paradise he speaks of. But oh, I hope and pray that there is space for me too. I don't know which side of the hill was right today. Is he a king or a false prophet? I don't know. But I do know that I am not the same person I was when I woke up this morning. All because I looked into the eyes of 3 men condemned to die, and I saw myself in them. God's help me. I don't know what this all means. Just let me sleep.